everybody. Welcome in once again to another edition of Get to Know the Royals right here on the Queen Sports Network. As always, I'm Mike Glennon, and today we're going to talk a little bit of lacrosse as I'm joined by brand new associate head coach, Mr. Kyle Hannan of the men's lacrosse program. And Coach Hannan, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're carving some time out of a busy schedule, but we really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on the program.
Well, as I just said, just joining the staff this past summer as the associate head coach, but you have 34 years of coaching experience of your own, 27 as a head coach, 7 as an assistant. And, I'd love to start with first things first. What brought you to Charlotte and why Queens now that you're a member of the staff?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, I had a long collegiate coaching journey and career. We were in Middle Georgia, and my family and I just decided that it was time for change. And Charlotte was an area that we targeted. Beautiful city and
Sure.
a lot to do. And I thought it would bring a lot of value to our family. So we did move to Charlotte. I became the president of Team 24/7,
Yes.
which is a large lacrosse group here in the area. And we've loved every minute of it. We really have. And getting to Charlotte also brought on this opportunity to stay involved with the college game. So we're really blessed with where we are right now as a family and in my career.
Well, I know you said the Team 24/7, now Team 91 lacrosse, and I know that's a full-time job in and of itself. But there has to be something said about wanting to stay in those collegiate coaching ranks. And I know you and I had talked before about just your love for the college game. So let's start there. Kind of, what brought you to the sport of lacrosse, and what made you fall in love with it?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Maryland, and obviously that's one of the hotbeds of lacrosse. I wouldn't say I was a typical Maryland young lacrosse player, though. I didn't pick it up until a little later. I was a big football, basketball guy, played baseball just to stay active and
Sure.
be able to compete and stay on the field. And it wasn't until middle school when one of my really good friends, his father was a middle school coach, and he basically said, "You have got to play lacrosse with the other sports that you're playing." And
Fair enough.
he took me out in his backyard, gave me a stick, and we started throwing around, and I was hooked from that point on. So lacrosse became a really big part of my life then and all the way through.
Sure, and it continues obviously on to today. It's a way of life, that's for sure, especially in those kind of areas that are such hotbeds to begin with. You've obviously turned that into a very successful career. We mentioned 34 years of coaching experience, 27 as a head coach. You have 218 wins as a head coach, 3 national championships, 4 conference championships. Let me ask you this: going from player to coach, what was your biggest adjustment, and how have you found the success that you have as a coach?
Yeah, well, even as a player, I always felt like I was a coach. I was so intrigued by the game and always wanted to learn and find different ways to do things. And I was really fortunate to have the coaches that I had in my life and them being mentors and just teaching me that way, and the value of being able to have relationships and develop as an athlete and then a coach. That all just kind of tied together. So to me, the transition was pretty smooth, from going from a collegiate player into coaching. And I think things are always easy when it's your passion. And that's all I wanted to do. I didn't even waver on anything else. I knew that
Sure.
once I started playing competitive college lacrosse, it was in me and it's what I wanted to do. So that probably helped the transition as well.
Sure. Yeah, didn't want to be an accountant, right? It was all about lacrosse. Well, in that time span, you won the Coach of the Year a few places, and you've been to a lot of different schools. I mean, both as a head coach and as an assistant. Excuse me. Coming most recently from that jersey behind you there, from Middle Georgia and Mercer. And let me ask you this: in terms of going between the different schools and different divisions as well, what did you pick up along the way, and how did you continually kind of I guess, self-critique and make yourself better as a coach?
Well, I think the self-critique is a big part of that,
Mm,
right? I really believe you learn every day. You learn
sure.
every stop along your journey. And every school that I was part of really helped me develop personally, professionally, the
Mhm.
relationships that you garner with fellow coaches and administrators. That's all
Sure.
just really positive. So I think the longer you're in anything, the more experience you have, the more you grow, the more you learn, and it just helps you as a professional.
Yeah.
But you know, I've been at the Division 3 level, the Division 1 level, the Division 2 level. And the interesting thing, because I hear from so many coaches, well, what are the differences? And there aren't a lot of differences. You know,
Sure.
lacrosse is lacrosse, relationships are relationships, and there are different ways to do things at different universities.
Mhm.
But for the most part, um, lacrosse is lacrosse, and coaching is coaching, and that's what I love about it. It's it's simple and it remains
Sure.
very consistent along the way.
Hey, and let's be honest, in this crazy world we live in, consistency is a very big key, right?
Yes, it is.
Well, in terms of kind of, and I love asking people this because I get different answers from different sports, but even in the same sport, I get different answers. But, what was it, what is it that lacrosse has taught you in terms of life lessons that you've been able to use, not just obviously on the field and as a coach, but, what have you learned that has helped you grow as a human being as well?
Well, I think as long as I've been around the game, I've cherished relationships more and more,
Mm,
and just the relationships that you gain, as I already mentioned, like
sure.
through, colleagues and all the different families, players, parents, alumni. That's really brought the most joy to me being in this long journey of college lacrosse. And then also just what you preach constantly when you try to build a strong successful culture. You're talking about standards and accountability, and when
Mhm.
you're constantly talking that to your players, you have to live that yourself. So I
Sure.
think that has really kind of brought value to me personally, with being fortunate to have a wonderful family and a daughter and a son and a wife for many for 24 years. I think coaching alone has really helped to
Sure.
develop kind of my life and my family's life along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned it there in terms of kind of practicing what you preach, if you will, right? In terms of making sure that if you're telling somebody that you want to do that, that you're actually living that life yourself. And I feel like sometimes that's things that get lost in translation.
Yes, absolutely, I agree.
Well, now that you're here at Queens and taking over as the associate head coach, I mean, you're coaching with a guy like Coach Chris Panos, who is a fantastic guy. What are you excited about coaching with him for?
Well, I mean, Coach Panos, it's been great. I've known him kind of just through the game, and we've had
Sure.
conversations. But now that we're in the office every day and we're sharing ideas, I really enjoy his passion for the game.
Mhm.
He's got a ton of energy, and probably what stands out the most to me right now in our short stint together is he truly cares about the players.
Mm,
And I think that goes a long way. He throws his heart out there and wants to make sure that they are, continuing to grow, as people, as lacrosse players, and I really appreciate that side of him, and really looking forward to working with Coach Panos and the rest of the staff, and continuing to grow the Queens lacrosse program.
Well, I know it's a program that's primed to grow. That's for sure. That you guys got the athletes to say the very least, and now it's just a matter of about putting that together. Before we wrap things up, I do want to ask, kind of, as someone who has won a few national championships as a coach, y- you know, what is it about those teams that stood out to you, and what does that recipe look like? I realize it's different with every team at every different level in terms of way things meld, but what are some of the consistent things for you that you've seen in those championship teams?
Yeah, well, and I've learned this over time, and not only with the championship teams, but other teams that have had a lot of success,
Mhm.
and then you also have years where you learn a lot
Sure.
because teams don't quite, kind of have the outcomes that you
Yeah.
work for and plan on. But it's so much more about the team. you know, the culture, the buy-in, the belief, the confidence. So it's much more on the spirit side, I believe, than the X's and O's and putting them in a scheme.
Sure.
So the teams that I've been part of that have had significant success, it's more based on who they were as people, how they wanted to run a program, the ownership that the players took of the program, and then the rest kind of takes care of itself from there. And that's what I really, coming to Queens, it's a new situation for me. I'm a new face for them.
Yeah.
That's really my main focus right now, because I know what can get you to the next level, and it's really that team culture, and that positive spirit, buy-in, competitiveness, accountability. All of those things are really what brings teams to the highest level.
Well, Coach, I'm excited to see what you're able to do in terms of helping out with this team. And, this is a program that last year was so much fun to watch. And, Coach Pano is still early in his career as a head coach. But like you mentioned, he's definitely the right guy for the job in terms of getting these guys where they want to go. And now to have the assistance of someone like yourself, I know he's probably chomping at the bit to get the season started. I realize you still want to do a little preseason conditioning, but at the same time, I know you guys got to be excited for what's coming up in the spring.
We really are. And it's not just the coaches. I think the players are as
Sure.
well. Collectively, we're excited about having a really positive season.
Well, Coach, we're excited too. I appreciate you joining us here on this Tuesday morning, and go out, enjoy the rest of your, I guess, quote, time off that you have until the season starts. But I know you got a lot going on with Team 91. So, of course, best of luck with that as well. But we'll be talking to you as the season approaches.
Great. Mike, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, that'll do it for another Get to Know the Royals right here on the Queens Sports Network YouTube page. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down there at the bottom. Follow us across social media. You'll get all the freshest, newest content from Queens Athletics. For Coach Kyle Hannan, we appreciate him joining us. And I'm Mike Glennon. And as always, go Royals.